Just so you know, I now have a Reverb page. This is where I sell some of the old equipment that I've used for videos in the studio here in sunny South London, as well as other kinds of vintage instruments, vintage music equipment, as well as some electrical bits and pieces that I've put together, such as this guitar pedal that I have designed and built myself in my shed in the back garden. Anyway, let's get on with the video. This car is widely regarded as a wank panzer. It has been clogging up Sainsbury's and Waitrose car parks and the roads around schools as the owners load and unload their lookalike gremlins for decades. Of course, I'm talking about the Range Rover, the vehicle that sells the line of off-roading prowess and luxury to suburbanites on high-interest car loans. I'm being a little bit unkind. They aren't the worst looking vehicles, and I've always had a soft spot for the Land Rover Defender. Although, as far as rugged off-roaders go, I'd probably say I prefer the Toyota Land Cruiser. Anywho's, a fire aboard a Park's 2014 Range Rover Sport TD-V6 SE would result in over 1,500 cars being damaged, the destruction of a fairly new car park, disruption for thousands of travellers, and a massive financial bill. Today we're looking at another automotive abomination-induced unexpected self-dismantling of a car park. This one is the one at Luton Airport just a few years ago. My name is John and welcome to Plainly Difficult. Today we're looking at this massive mess. This video wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for my YouTube, Patreon and Ko-fi members. If you want early access to the channel's videos, then you can from just £1 a month, and as always the links are in the pinned comment below. Luton Airport. This is the picturesque town of Luton. Its some 226,000 inhabitants are widely regarded as having some of the best living standards in the United Kingdom, second only to the Isle of Sheppey. You know I'm being a bit sarcastic here, and let's be honest, the town is really mostly known for its airport. Just so you know, Luton is roughly here on this completely accurate map. It, in the 2020s, boasts some of Europe's most upper-class airlines, such as EasyJet, Jet2, Ryanair, TUI, and Wizz Air. It is named officially London Luton, even though it's some 32 miles away from the UK's capital. But before its 1990 name change to trick people to thinking it's close to London, the airport's history goes all the way back to 1938. This is very close to the big old worldwide shooting contest, and like many other airports across Europe, it was used for the war effort. It would be handed back for public and commercial use in the early 1950s, but it was far from being a London airport. Those titles were being held at the time by the much closer to the city airports of Biggin Hill, Heathrow, and the near-life expired Croydon. The airport would gain increasing passenger numbers over the 1960s and mid-1970s, as it became a vital hub for package holidays. During the 1980s, the airport, however, would see a decline in passenger numbers and investment, as the nearby Stansted Airport sucked up the third-place crown behind Heathrow and Gatwick for London's airport traffic. Fast forward through to the late 1980s, and the rebranding as a London airport in 1990. The next 10 years or so would be up and down, but in December 2018, a 3-year redevelopment of the airport was announced and began, with a cost of around £160 million. This would include a full modern terminal with new shopping areas, boasting a 50% increase in passenger throughput, and part of this would be a new multi-storey car park. 2 to be precise, one of which would be built and completed around 2016, and the other would be built and completed in 2019. Our story today is concerned with car park number 2. This was a 5-storey steel-framed, decked and columned open deck building built on a concrete base with reinforced concrete floors. The contractor for its construction was awarded in July 2018 and had been estimated to cost around £20 million. The contract was issued to Buckingham Contracting Group, and the building was penned by Hill Cannon. Interestingly, the building did not have any form of fire suppression system, such as sprinklers. It was, however, designed with a minimum 15-minute fire resistance for its structural elements and 120 minutes to the concrete walls that enclosed the escape staircases. Like what we saw at Stavanger, it was assumed that the fire services would be on site pretty quickly because the whole thing of it being on an airport and all. Which leads us onto the disaster. The disaster. It is the 10th of October 2023 and a 9-year-old red Range Rover Sport pulls into the barrier of Luton Airport's Carpark number 2. The time is 20:42 and it pulls towards the barrier, and as it pulls towards the barrier, CCTV captures the vehicle. Smoke can be seen emanating from the underside of the engine compartment. The car proceeds up through the car park to level 3, where the smoke turns into noticeable flames from the bonnet. The driver abandons the car, leaving it in the roadway within the building. The driver called the emergency services at 20:47 and was the first of several 999 calls to be received regarding the fire. At 20:55, the 2 first firefighting appliances arrived on scene. The fire had completely consumed the Range Rover by now and was towards the northern end of the car park. Quickly, the flames had spread to at least 3 other cars by the time the first firefighters were in a position to begin activating the building's northwestern dry riser. Fire crews braved the staircase and attempted to douse the flames. However, the speed of the fire, assisted with the breeze in the night, meant that the fire was spreading quicker than it could be fought. At 21:26, all crews were withdrawn from the building as it was way past the 15-minute fire resistance and a collapse was now expected. Firefighters changed tact and were using platform-mounted hoses to try and fight the flames from outside the building. By 21:37, roughly 80% of the 3rd floor was involved in the fire and a major incident was declared. At the same time, the airport was closed to traffic. The fire continued to spread at an alarming rate. By 10:30 in the evening, a full stop on all plane traffic in the area was confirmed. At 11:20 at night, the section where the fire had started on the 3rd floor began to collapse into the lower floors, spreading the flames even further. The partial collapse of the building had allowed fire to reach other floors. As such, the fire service implemented a 15-metre cordon around the building. The fire would rage on for nearly 24 hours, during which other sections of the car park would collapse, including weakening the top floor, creating an open-air building. In total, 15 rescue pumps, 3 aerial appliances, and more than 100 firefighters would be used on scene during the incident. The structural steel had buckled under the intense heat, and an estimated 1,500 vehicles had experienced damage of some sort, with at least 1,300 being so damaged that they are written off. The car park had been damaged to such a point that it was beyond economical repair, requiring it to be torn down and completely rebuilt, with damaged cars still being removed for the best part of a year later, causing one hell of an insurance nightmare. An estimated 30,000 passengers were affected, with either diverted flights, cancelled journeys, revised departures, or revised destination locations. The total cost was in at least tens of millions of pounds to rebuild and pay out all of those damaged vehicles. The rebuild is still underway, of course, with better fire controls. This has created more demand in Car Park 1 and has pushed more drivers into having to use the long stay car park instead of the terminal car park, which does suck a bit if you have to fly from Luton. But what was the interesting thing was that no one died, which means I can smash this button. But don't get too excited. There were some injuries, most notably in a handful of firefighters for smoke inhalation. But luckily, no one received life-threatening injuries. Investigation. So in the immediate aftermath, the fire and its ramifications for the country's 5th busiest airport were plastered all over the newspapers and on social media. Initially, criminal intent was thought to be the originating cause of the fire, likely due to there being no other reason to hand. A man in his 30s was arrested for criminal damage, but just under 6 months later, the charges were dropped, as stated by the BBC. A man who was arrested for the fire that destroyed more than 1,400 vehicles at Luton Airport will face no further action, police have confirmed. The fire was under investigation by both the police and fire services, and it was very clear the cause was the smoking red Range Rover. But finding the exact cause was difficult, as the car was completely consumed by the fire. It is known that the car was diesel, which are slightly less likely to catch fire, but it was decided during the investigation to have originated in an electrical fault or component failure. An official report named Significant Incident Report London Luton Airport Terminal Carpark 2 will be released in 2024, and it would highlight the underlying issues with the disaster. It would be very similar to other car park fires, where the open sides of the building helped push the fire around, and with burning cars being fueled up, you literally have a building full of fire fuel. Again, electric cars were blamed in the public, but the report did not agree, saying, "There is no evidence to demonstrate that the presence of electric vehicles parked in the car park had a detrimental impact on the outcome of the fire." The lack of requirements for sprinklers have been highlighted in a 2018 report by Dame Judith Hackett, where it was found the regulatory system for buildings in England was not fit for purpose. Sprinklers would be included in the National Fire Chiefs Council position statement and associated guidance in 2020, but bizarrely sprinklers aren't a requirement for open car parks in the UK. The report would summarise the place of sprinklers would have had if in the incident if they were actually installed, saying, "It may have changed and delayed the pattern of the fire spread, increasing the chances of a successful outcome once firefighting operations had begun." But what caused the building to actually collapse? Well, it's a story as old as time. Petrol and diesel burns hot enough to buckle steel, enough to cause it to lose its structural rigidity, causing the partial collapse. So that's my video on the Luton Airport car park collapse. It's going to be a 2 on my scale, and this is what I've got for my root cause analysis card. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments below. And also, do you have any other car park collapses for me to cover? I'm always open to suggestions. Again, let me know down below. This is a Plain Default video. All videos on the channel are Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike licensed. Plain Default videos produced by me, John, in a currently quite nice warm corner of southern London, UK. And all that's left to say is thank you very much for watching, and Mr. Music, can you do me a favour and play us out, please?